to Philly Zoo at 2. I am back with Gianna, who is here with a brand new animal friend, and his name is Wilbur, and he is a Hog Island boa. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. So Gianna, this animal is brand new to our collection, or at least in our recent memories. This is your first time working with this animal. This is my first time. So this is going to be a lot of fun because we don't really, we're learning everything new about this animal as we start to work with him, which is super exciting for us. We love getting experience with new species. So tell us a little bit of an overview. What is a Hog Island boa? Why is it called Hog Island, first of all?
So first of all, these guys are from the Hog Islands.
I don't know where that is. I have no idea.
It is off the coast of Honduras. It's actually a group of tiny little islands. I believe there's like 13 really small islands. And the two largest ones are the Hog Islands, and that's the only place you can find these snakes. So this snake is technically not its own species. It is a morph of the common boa constrictor. So when you think of boa constrictor, you think like some huge, big, long snake. And they look pretty similar to this, but these Hog Island boas are only found on the Hog Islands. And because of that, they don't really have any predators, so they kind of got smaller.
I was going to say, we have worked with common before, and this is not what I would expect from that species.
No. So these guys are a lot smaller because they're kind of the top predator, and they don't really need to be huge. So they can be a little bit smaller, which they are, which is really cool. And then their coloration is a little bit different as well.
Yes, very.
So there's something called hypomelanistic, which means that they don't have a lot of dark pigmentation. So they've got some of it here in the back on the tail, but it just kind of gets lighter as he goes, which is really neat.
You know what's amazing is that I feel like this snake is going to be a great example of how conservation science works, because right now this snake is not its own species. I bet by the time we're done with our careers, that snake's going to be its own species. It's just taking some time, I'm sure, right now.
That's right.
I bet somebody's already writing their PhD about it right now. Now tell us a little bit about the island species in particular are occasionally very threatened by different things. So tell us a little bit, is this a threatened species? What's special about this guy?
So Hog Island boas are classified as endangered right now.
Okay.
So in the 1970s, when they were discovered, there was like this crazy pet boom. And people went to the islands and they took off bunches and bunches of these snakes. So by the 1990s, they thought that they were actually extinct.
Oh, wow.
By 1993, scientists went back to the island and they found a few of these guys and brought them back to different zoos for breeding. So right now on the island, there's over 700. And then there's a bunch in zoos for breeding and programs. So they're still considered endangered because there's not that many of them. But again, there's only 2 places in the entire world with these guys, and they're really small islands. I believe it's only about 37 square miles.
Oh my gosh.
So it's not a lot of space. So, you know, they're a really important animal. And I'm happy that we have one and we get to work with one.
And if they don't have any predators on their island, which means they're the largest predator on that island.
Yeah.
Which means they are likely some level of keystone species there, because they're the ones who are dictating the rest of the ecology of that space.
Yep, 100%.
Wow. That's amazing. So let's talk a little bit about why this snake is a little bit different than some of the other snakes that we work with. So the first thing you may be noticing is that you're holding the snake in a way that normally we don't. We always advocate for holding the snake in your arms and your hands. We do not ever advocate for wrapping a snake around any part of your body except for your wrists.
That's right.
So tell me why you're doing everything wrong right now.
So the reason I'm doing everything wrong right now is based off of this snake's individual behavior and his species. So this is a type of snake that is highly arboreal, especially when they're young.
That means they like to live
in trees. They like to live in trees because they're an island snake, so there's really only trees.
Right, yeah.
That's all they have, so that's what they do.
All right.
And then as they get older, they get a little less arboreal and they start to spend more time on the ground. But he's 7 years old. Average lifespan's about 20. So he's kind of in that weird in-between stage where he's not quite fully arboreal anymore, but he still likes to hang out and wrap around things. So, of course, I want to make sure that he is comfortable. And sometimes that means that we don't do things that we normally would. But in order for him to be as comfortable as possible in our arms for us to showcase him, we're gonna kind of do what we need to.
Yeah.
But he is still a constrictor. I would never, ever, ever put him around my neck
Oh, no.
or kind of any other body part.
Certainly not.
Pretty much just the waist, because I can still control it. I can still see him, and if I
Yes.
need to, I can unravel him.
And how did we determine that this is comfortable for him? What behaviors did he do? Like a snake communicates in a way that is so much different than the way that humans communicate. So how did we know how this snake was feeling?
So pretty much trial and error of holding him in different ways. So we, of course, started out holding him like we would any of our other snakes. And if he moved just a little bit too much, that shows us he's uncomfortable. If he's kind of looking around constantly and not calming down, that shows he's uncomfortable. And of course, snakes can get tense. So their bodies can stiffen, just like yours would if you were nervous or scared or uncomfortable. So just paying attention to all of those cues in his body is how we realize, okay, this is the most comfortable.
That's how I like to determine how my snake is feeling. If I'm holding a snake, is usually based on that kind of tense nature of their body.
And of course, kind of going around the waist was an accident of figuring things out, because it's not where we want a snake.
But that's where he chose.
But that's where he chose, and it's kind of where he just relaxed and was comfortable. As you can see, he's hardly moved.
This is a relaxed snake.
He's pretty relaxed. And of course, our core is the warmest part of our body, so he is definitely
And where they come from, it's very warm, I
Yes,
yes,
absolutely.
And now this snake could actually be asleep right now because they don't have eyelids.
Nope.
That's an important feature of snakes. They do not have eyelids, so they sleep with their eyes open.
Correct.
And not because they're always watchful, just because they don't have the physiology to support closing their eyes.
Yeah, so if you guys might be getting a really good look at his eyes right now. There's no eyelids there. They do have kind of like an extra special lens that they have, just to clean it, that they can use, that kind of is there all the time. And it's just so that stuff doesn't get in there, because of course, eyelids have a purpose.
Yes,
Their purpose is not just to make sure that you look silly when you're sleeping, but it's to keep your eyes clean. And if you don't have them, then you gotta have something.
Got to figure out some other way to keep them clean.
So these guys have a special lens over there.
Do snakes have very good eyesight?
Not really.
No.
They mostly rely on all of the rest of their body to help them figure things out. They don't have ears, as we've learned.
They don't have any ears at all. It's not like with a bird where you can't see their ears because they have
no ears at all.
No
so
ears.
they have to rely on vibrations in the ground. They have to rely on the kind of heat in the air in order to figure things out.
That's a fun thing that we tell people at home to do, is if you want to experience how a snake can hear things, since they don't process auditory cues like we do, they can feel sound waves, and you can try this out at home by placing your hand over your throat while you are speaking or humming or making a sound, and you can feel those sound vibrations even if you can't hear them. You probably can because you're talking to yourself right now, but if you had some earmuffs on that were noise canceling, you'd be able to still feel that speech rather than hear it. And that's how snakes go. They have those nice long belly scales
so
that are nice and
like horizontal on their stomach, so they can feel.
And that helps them
better.
process all those little bumps that they feel in the ground when something big is running towards them or something like that. They can feel that coming. It's amazing.
Yeah.
What a cool little guy.
I mean, imagine you could feel through your shoes, like to the ground, and know what's going on underneath.
Yes.
Gotta be cool to be a snake.
Now, you said that these were popular in the pet trade at one point.
Yes.
Is this, many snakes that are popular in the pet trade come in many different color types. What kind of color types do these guys come in?
So this is just a wild type. This is what they look like.
The wild type, by the way, is when an animal is found naturally in the wild, that's the color you're gonna get.
Yep, so this is what they look like. And then in the pet trade, for the most part, they are wild types. However, there have been some breeders that crossbreed them with other boa constrictor
because
subspecies. Because they are still all technically the same species, so they can do that. And those might result in different colors.
Of course.
So you have things like red-tail boas with a nice dark red tail. So these guys can come in different colors, but for the most part, they're going to look just like this. He's actually kind of dark for a Hog Island boa. But they can be a little bit paler, which is pretty neat. And that's really why people liked them for the pet trade.
They had such a unique...
They have such a unique coloration.
I mean, it's this is an absolutely beautiful snake.
Yep, they are gorgeous.
They really, really are. Such a special little species. I love them.
And I'm sure you guys are wondering how long he is.
Yes.
So he is a male, which means that he's only going to be about 4 or 5 feet long.
Okay.
Females are larger.
Huh?
And so they're going to be about 6 maybe 7 feet.
Okay, so this is
pretty much
maximum size. He might end.
Yeah,
And snakes never really fully stop growing, so we could get a little bigger,
but not too much bigger.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, pretty cool. He's about 3 pounds.
That was going to be my next question.
He doesn't feel it though. It's nice and light.
Yeah.
He's watching
snakes are always like sometimes surprisingly heavy, and then sometimes you pick him up, you're like, what? You're just a noodle. Yeah.
Exactly.
Snakes are amazing. It really depends on how much muscle they have, and that's a common question we get: is do they have bones all throughout their body? And of course, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
And what do they feel like? So let's describe a little bit about what it feels like to work with a snake.
Sure. So these guys are pretty much all bone and muscle. So if you think about, in order to move, your body needs lots and lots of bones. And so that's what keeps you flexible. Say if you're someone double jointed, you're only double jointed because you have more bones. So these guys have a lot of bones. They're pretty much one long line of spine and ribs, and then all the muscles that are attached to that. So that's kind of how he's able to do this really neat swirl with his head there, and it's not just straight out. So working with them is really neat because you kind of look at it and think that it's going to be either slimy or stiff, and then you hold it and it's very relaxed and kind of loose and limpy, but strong. So when they are ready to go somewhere, they're going to go that path. But also, snakes are usually constrictors, so for the most part, they can kind of hold their own, which is really nice.
Yeah.
So that works for him. He likes to feel supported, so it's nice that he can kind of lean on us. But also he's supporting himself too by being able to grasp on with his body because it's just one giant arm.
It's one giant arm.
It's one giant arm, so he can grab things and kind of see where he's going by feeling.
Incredible.
And muscles, so cool.
Man, snakes are amazing. What kind of questions are we getting from the audience?
So I know we were just talking about the different colors. Is there a reason why the top half or the head is a lot lighter than the body?
So in my research, I didn't find an actual answer to it. So it just kind of seems to be how they are and what their coloration is. I'm sure there is some reason, but not one that I could find. Not one science has discovered yet.
Oh man, that would be a fun piece to research. That would be really interesting.
And how big are they when they're born?
So they're not that big when they're born. These guys, so they are boas. So they do give a live birth. So mom hatches the eggs on the inside and then pushes them out. And they have an average of about 11 to 20 babies at a time.
So actually, let's pause for a second.
Sure.
Let's talk about ovoviviparous, because this is one of my
the best
favorite
word
things.
Ever?
The best way to talk about reproduction is to talk about the word ovoviviparous. I absolutely love it. Explain. You just very casually said, so she just hatches the eggs in her belly and then pushes them out. I think we need more information here.
It's so casual. Don't we all do that?
Snakes.
So snakes that are boas, they do have eggs, but those eggs hatch on the inside of the female snake. So they're very, very soft. A snake egg isn't like a hard egg,
leathery,
like a chicken egg that you eat. Yeah, it's kind of soft and kind of like a bag. That's what it is.
It's a baby purse.
It's a baby purse. And then those babies, when they're ready, they come out of those eggs inside mom, and she pushes them out, just like a human mom.
So the babies leave. But the eggs stay inside, and she will actually reabsorb those because it is a lot of effort to make an egg.
Yes.
No matter who you are, it's a lot of
effort.
effort. It is. So, and those nutrients that were used to make those eggshells, she can actually reabsorb those and get them back into her body. It gives her a little boost that she needs after doing all that work.
Kind of like how a human would eat a really big meal after giving birth.
Yes.
Gotta be starving.
Yes.
But, we're not that cool. We're not as cool as
And the actual question was, how big are they when they hatch? So now let's answer that.
We
needed a lot of background info.
They're probably only a few inches long.
Yeah. Like little wormies.
Sadly, I've never seen one.
I know.
But yeah, kind of like a little worm, so probably a good few inches. I mean, remember, mom's gonna have a few in there, so they gotta fit.
You said 11 to
11 to 20 is average.
How does she fit 20 eggs in her body?
Right? They're not that big.
She must be so bloated. Oh my gosh. Oh, well, that's okay. Wilbur doesn't need to worry about that.
No, Wilbur's
he's available,
good.
So. That might be all the time that we have. So I think we're going to have to press pause on Wilbur here. But if you guys have any questions that we didn't answer yet, feel free to leave them in the comments. We'll put your top 5 back on the video after we have finished. So thanks so much for joining us here today. Thank you for experiencing Wilbur for the first time along with the rest of us. Thank you, Gianna, for all your help. We will see you next week with a brand new episode of Philly Zoo at 2. Bye.